Hi guys, this is Claude for Keto Power Fitness, your coach here to help. So today I'd like to talk a little bit about cholesterol because it's something that's used a lot and it's used a lot in a misinformation sense to scare people away from trying the keto diet. And I just want to clarify a few things because it's not fair to you if you're having weight issues, type 2 diabetes, inflammation issues, and any kind of metabolic health issue to scare you away from a low carb diet. And what I'm going to hope to do is make you understand. I'm going to simplify things so this isn't a research paper. You can look up the stuff that I'm going to tell you, and if you look in the right places and you go into detail, you'll see that it's I'm telling you the truth as far as what we know and how we should relate to your cholesterol numbers. Okay, so first of all, why would cholesterol numbers go up if you're doing a low carb diet? Well, for one, if you're doing most kinds of diets where you're going to lose weight, so if you're losing body fat, you're basically taking the fat that's around your belly, that's on you, and you're mobilizing it and you're using it as energy. So fat, if you've ever tried to mix grease in water, it doesn't mix. Okay, so cholesterol, the role of cholesterol is to allow your body to mobilize fat into the bloodstream. Okay, so the two main ones we'll talk about, just to keep things simple here, are LDL, low density lipoprotein, and HDL, the high density lipoprotein. And basically all you need to know about those, in juxtaposition to each other, is that the LDL basically is used to bring the fat out to where it's needed on the body for energy, for rebuilding, for hormones. And the HDL is the cholesterol that's used to take the fats from the extremities, from your anything that's not used by the body, and bring it back to the liver for recycling. Okay, so basically LDL brings things out, okay, deposits the fat where it's needed, and HDL brings things back. Now, in observing arteriosclerosis, one of the things that is found is that some of that obstruction in the arteries is LDL cholesterol. Okay, and research would find that there's I got a bit of a dry throat this morning. Haven't done a lot of talking yet, still early. There's a correlation between high cholesterol and high LDL cholesterol and arteriosclerosis. Correlation is not causation. So when we start to look more in depth as to what's going on, well, we realize that there is, from what I've read on this, there's actually quite a spectrum of LDL, ranging from really kind of big fluffy LDL to very tiny LDL particles. And it's the tiny LDL particles, and those, if you look up oxidized LDL or oxidized cholesterol, that correlates to those, that refers to those small LDL particles. And those are the ones that are involved in the obstruction. So if you do research and look at a whole bunch of people, you might have a correlation that people with more cholesterol will tend to overall have more oxidized LDL, and that will correlate to these artery obstructions. However, on an individual basis, you can have people with a very high cholesterol, very high LDL, with absolutely no problem with arteriosclerosis. So what's going on? So basically, the stuff that's causing the problem is an oxidized LDL, a damaged LDL particle. And now what causes that kind of damage? What leads to that LDL finding its way in the inner lining of the artery and obstructing your arteries? Well, so you'll have that phenomena among smokers, okay? People that eat high sugar, high carbs, okay, lots of high glucose, high blood glucose, the diabetes. You'll have that. People that use these highly processed seed oils, okay? So those are the, any oil and fat that gets rancid is really, really bad for you. And those polyunsaturates, they tend to get rancid really easily, especially if you're cooking with them. High heat will modify them. Okay, so those are the kinds of things that you want to avoid. Now, we've demonized saturated fats coming from animal products for years, saying, well, that brings up your cholesterol if you're eating a lot of fats and not a lot of carbs, and it does. And then you have this correlation between high cholesterol and arteriosclerosis and heart attack and all-cause mortality. But on an individual basis, you could very well have high cholesterol and that not be a problem. So the pharmaceutical companies are saying, well, here's this correlation, here's a statin, this is how you bring your cholesterol down, and it's a good sale, and they train all the physicians to respond that way. But in the end, statins do lower cholesterol, but is it lowering all-cause mortality? Is it lowering arteriosclerosis? Is it having any kind of impact for people that have the light, fluffy kind of LDL cholesterol that isn't the problem? And the answer to that is no. Okay? So what you want to avoid is the inflammation caused by high glucose level. Well, how do you lower your glucose? Well, lower your glucose intake, lower your carb intake, fuel yourself with fats. You'll get high cholesterol because obviously if you're consuming a lot of fat, that fat has to get to your cells and it's transported by cholesterol. That's totally healthy process. That's what it needs to. If you're losing body fat, either through calorie restriction, which you can't keep up forever, or through a healthy ketogenic diet, which is totally sustainable because you're not starving yourself. You're actually using a caloric balance, but training your body, using those calories, using those nutrients to build muscle, raise your growth hormone so that you maintain your muscle mass, lower your fat, your body fat, and getting healthy. Well, if you're lowering your body fat, that fat's getting mobilized, your cholesterol will go up, and that's totally healthy. Okay, there's no problem with that. There's no health issue. And so when your doctor is sending typically for cholesterol numbers to the lab, okay, so they'll come back with VLDL, total cholesterol, VLDL, HDL, and LDL. But if you want to know which kind of LDL you have, those are specialized tests that they normally don't do. But the research has shown that you can estimate to a high degree of precision what kind of LDL you're dealing with. And that will be revealed. It correlates really well with a high HDL level and a low triglyceride level. Okay, so if you just have your regular test done and that's all you have access to, basically, yeah, check out where you stand. If you've got like a normal to high HDL, your triglycerides are low, chances are the LDL that you have, which may be high, are the light fluffy kind that aren't really associated with any kind of health issue. They're actually very net positive for your health, and that's kind of how you want to work with that. And a lot of the doctors actually know this, okay, but they're trained with the correlation, and basically their way to deal with arteriosclerosis and cholesterol problems is to suggest a statin. And to suggest a statin, the statin won't lower the bad LDL or the good LDL, it just lowers your cholesterol overall. And because that's their tool, then, you know, if your only tool is a hammer, then every part of them has to look like a nail. And so there's no incentive for them to look any deeper than your typical lab numbers and decide whether or not that justifies the prescription of a statin. But truth is, you can improve your health a lot more with a proper ketogenic diet, and not have to deal with all the side effects of having a statin, because if your body actually requires that cholesterol for you to feed your cells properly, and you artificially lower your cholesterol numbers, your cholesterol level artificially through medication, then basically all that means is that your body isn't getting what it needs. You haven't changed anything as far as the root cause of the problem, and now your body is kind of starving for that cholesterol so that it can mobilize the fat. And look up the side effects associated with statins, and you'll see that it's right in line with basically your body not being able to operate the way it should. So really consider those things, and you shouldn't be afraid to go on a low carb ketogenic diet and to consume high amounts of fats, even saturated fats. If you look at the actual research on that, and not the epidemiology, you'll find that there's no reason to not eat saturated animal fats, which basically humans have been eating for thousands of years. And certainly we didn't have the obesity and type 2 diabetes epidemic that we have nowadays. So yeah, that's basically what the take home here. And if you have any questions or comments, put them down below. And if you enjoy my my video cast and my podcast, yeah, for sure sign up, subscription bell somewhere here, and make sure you get all my videos. I'll be producing a little bit more these days, and I just love doing it when I'm going these nice relaxing walks with baby Dahlia here, fast asleep. She's starting to take her little walks facing forward. So yeah, enjoy your day. Make sure you make the best of your day every day, and we'll see you soon.